Okay, so hopefully you guys can see, hopefully it's filling up the entire screen. If not, throw it in the chat. I will check in a little bit. I'd like to spend maybe, 15 to 20 minutes going through this. And then we can definitely, I'd rather have this be as interactive as possible and answer questions. We can definitely get into the weeds and answer nitty-gritty questions. I know from a logistics standpoint, this has been a year unlike any other. I'll save the adjectives that people are throwing out left and right, but there's a lot of uncertainty, and there have been a lot of increases from carrier surcharges to different fulfillment centers, including Amazon, limiting the amount of inventory you can send in. So just wanted to run through a couple things with like Amazon running, true Amazon level experience for your direct to consumer brand. You don't need to be a $1 trillion company to provide that level of service, and how you can really bring 2-day shipping to your customers when it's the right time, and how to do it most cost effectively. Again, we'll probably spend about 15 minutes running through this, and then would love to just get into the chat and answer specific questions on your business, and we can always take it outside of this as well. So first, I don't know of a better term, but I'm a present procrastinator. I'm sure, like many of you all, I wait till the last minute. I'd say one of the things I'm most interested to see that happens this year, I know there's been a lot of narrative in brands trying this, where they're starting their Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday sales well in advance. We're seeing this across a lot of our customers at ShipBob, and I'll get to that in a minute. And some people are going to buy in advance, and I recommend it because of what we're seeing from a lot of the supply chain side of things. But even if you are a present procrastinator, or you want to allow your customers that fit into that bucket to still be able to get things on time, there are ways you can do it. And so, again, this is a common thing. I'm actually going to be very interested to see how well a lot of these, pre-holiday sales go, because one thing that these brands are banking on is changes in consumer behavior, where I think a lot of people are going to wait to the last minute anyways. And so it'll be interesting to see how well these sales work, or if it's just going to be a lot of false start from brands pushing the early sales, and then having to say that, well, it did not expire, we have to run it again. And so if any of you have any experience or anything you want to share, again, throw it in the chat and we'll get to that shortly. So scalable fulfillment today and tomorrow. Again, this is Casey Armstrong. I'm over at ShipBob. I'll introduce myself in a minute. But this is just a snapshot of our fulfillment center map. We also have a location over in Europe. But it's really, how can you provide scalable fulfillment for your business so you can really focus on sales and marketing and product development. I mean, the biggest thing that all technologies are trying to provide is helping you either save time or money. And I think that from outsourcing your fulfillment for the right brands, it can actually help you achieve both. So who am I? Casey Armstrong. I'm the CMO over at ShipBob. Before joining the ShipBob team, I was over at BigCommerce. Then prior to that, I helped run a company called Watchmaster. We were a direct-to-consumer luxury watch brand over in Europe. Essentially, it was VAT arbitrage, where we'd buy in the South, sell in the North, and then we also sold a lot of these watches over in the US. And so we didn't have our own brand. We were selling Rolex, Tag Heuer, Breitling, Omega, a lot of the major brands. And then before that, I helped run a company called Paleo Hacks, which we sold, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago now. And then I always try to include some fun fact or something interesting. So I guess technically I lived out of a van for 6 months while traveling throughout Australia. That was a great time, did a lot of fun stuff, swam with sharks, jumped out of planes, did a bunch of cool stuff. So if any of you have been to Australia or live there now, it's always fun to talk travel. So ShipBob, who is ShipBob? So we are a technology. I think the title of the slide sums it up a lot better, which is provide Amazon level fulfillment to your customers. And so we integrate with Shopify, BigCommerce, Wix, Squarespace, you can read them all, but all of the major e-commerce platforms, all the major marketplaces, and then we integrate on the other end with the OMSs and the IMSs like Sin7 and Skubana and Inventory Planner, to the return solutions like Returnly, Loop, Happy Returns, and others. We have over 3,500 customers. As I mentioned, we have 11 fulfillment centers. We're actually looking to double that next year. And so we'll be adding more in the United States, maybe more in Canada and another in Europe, and possibly some in the APAC region. Why adding more fulfillment centers is important, for some of you it might be obvious, for some of you maybe not, is this way you can distribute your inventory and be closer to the end consumer, which helps because one, that will cost you less. So either you save more money, which can go straight to the bottom line. You can pass that cost savings to your customer, which should hopefully bring a happier customer or improve your conversion rates. And then also the transit time is a lot faster. So there, again, therefore you should have happier customers. And also by leveraging that, that it's just getting that, utilizing fulfillment and logistics as a revenue driver versus always viewing it a cost center, I think is kind of a mind shift that a lot of brands are going through today. Amazon, of course, was spearheading that with Prime and 2-day. We ship all around the world and we ship millions of items per month. I love this quote over here from Courtney Lee. She's the CEO and founder of Primal. She's been a customer of ours for quite a while. I think it nails two things which are important. One is that she felt like she couldn't grow until she moved to ShipBob. And we hear this a lot where founders are hesitant to hand over their goods to another party because it's, like in her case, she started building this like in her kitchen. And also people want to make sure that the quality is up to par. But fulfillment is so time intensive. They spend so much time picking and packing and taking things to the post office that they can't spend time doing the things to move their business. And so I think in the last 2 years, she's actually 5x'd her business, and not necessarily because of ShipBob, but I'd say outsourcing fulfillment played a part in giving her time to properly grow the business. And then also the second quote, it's really that cost savings perspective. It's not often that your CPA is giving you a compliment. So I will take a compliment from a CPA any day of the week. So over the next 23-ish minutes, we'll probably make it shorter, out with the old and with the new, how the customers have changed and how to really ship like a $1 billion business, or I guess with Amazon, now a $1 trillion business. So especially as like a lot of brands are continuing to evolve. And so, I don't need to spend much time on this for all of you merchants out there. You know how things have been shifting quickly. Years ago, it was nice to spin up a Shopify store, throw it on Instagram, rinse and repeat. And, that was often a way to drive a lot of revenue. But things have changed quite a bit where it's gotten a lot more expensive. I know that there was a lull earlier this year that some brands were able to take advantage of, but people are definitely looking to expand broadly. Google has thrown their hat in the ring with much more so with Google Shopping. Amazon, Walmart, Target continue to open things up as a lot of different wholesale experiences. And so how can you find a partner to help you fulfill not just direct to consumer, but through all these other marketplaces as well? And then also from the top, it's been just fascinating to see these incumbents or these massive businesses continue to innovate and really pull the entire industry forward. And so Amazon has their one-day shipping. Obviously, they've been having some issues recently with Prime, but Amazon is has made 2-day a household topic and conversation. Walmart with their next day delivery in parts of the US, also Walmart Plus, which recently launched. There's a lot of the carrier battles between FedEx and UPS and Amazon. And then Target, I think, is surprisingly does not get enough discussion today, but what they've been able to do in their acquisition of Ship has been fascinating. And I know that Postmates has been doing a lot lately with last mile as well. And so competition is ramping up across the board. And so you definitely need to be able to, bring that post-purchase experience, of which fulfillment is part of that, to your customers. And so just we've all probably felt this with our businesses, but I think it's just interesting to see at a larger scale some of the stats from the general population, just those who expect free shipping, those who expect free 2-day shipping, and also when 2-day free shipping is a deal breaker. I know that I've abandoned websites where I get to the checkout and I'm fine paying for the shipping, and I'd rather buy it directly from the brand. But then when I see the shipping speed and it tells me that it's going to get here in like 14 days, and I'm like, okay, I've got to go somewhere else to purchase this. And this was interesting as well, is just to see like what really is the reason why people buy on Amazon versus, let's say directly from the brand. And the top, 2 of the top 3 it's free shipping and then 2-day shipping. And so a lot of times when brands are trying to see, well, what are the different levers I can pull to improve my conversion rates or improve, my ROI on ads, sometimes it's as simple as testing things as free shipping. And it's very easy just to say, okay, cool, offer free shipping, but you have to know your cost of goods sold, what the customer acquisition costs are, what your average order value is, margins, all of that to really bake in if you can do free shipping. But again, that's where distributing your inventory, if it makes sense for your business, can really help reduce those costs to then be able to offer free shipping and then start, this flywheel into growing the business, because now you're offering a better customer experience, improving your conversion rates. You can put more money in ads, then you're driving more top of funnel, and then you continue to grow from there. And so before we get into what I'll call the expectation gap, which Amazon has driven a lot of that, as they've been able to innovate both logistics and e-commerce, is when am I big enough? It's by far the number one question that we get. But I think another way to frame it, and I think that Courtney with the Primal example is a great example, is picking and packing orders preventing me from growing my business? I think it's beneficial to do that some at the start. You're forced to understand the mechanisms of logistics and fulfillment. You are actually putting things into the package that you're sending to your customers. Hopefully you're spending time researching them. But is it preventing you from growing your business? And so let's talk through like 3 things to think about. So managing an influx in sales. Outside of just growing your business, week over week or month over month or quarter over quarter, but when is there an influx of sales? How are you going to sustain that and fulfill on that promise? So of course, we're heading into holiday peak. Maybe we're already in holiday peak. I know that on the ShipBob side, we've seen, greater than Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales pretty much since April, which has been pretty fascinating to see. And I'll actually share what makes that more interesting later, because of how much e-commerce volume actually happens in November and December. And then of course there's crowdfunding wins. Maybe there's like product virality. Of course, there's the current e-commerce surge. Another thing too to think through is, just carrier relationships and being beholden to a carrier. I can throw this in the chat later, but if you go to carriers.shipbob.com, we actually publicly share the average transit or shipping speeds from all the major carriers. And so sometimes people will build a relationship with one carrier, but maybe that carrier is having some problems or is adding additional surcharges or is having issues with hiring. And so being able to diversify across different carriers is very helpful. And then, the benefits of free shipping or 2-day shipping or free 2-day shipping over a certain order value is very important. And so, making sure that you have a partner in place that can help you manage that, or for certain customers, or maybe over a certain order value, you utilize a thing like a 2-day express program where you're always guaranteeing that 2-day shipping, similar to what Amazon used to do earlier in the in their product life cycle, which was it was a $35 and then $25 minimum to get that free 2-day shipping. So overcoming the expectation gap, and I know I'm talking relatively quickly because I just want to cover some of this stuff and then jump into the chat. I think we've got 30 minutes total. So some of the things with the expectation gap, it's really one location versus multiple locations, and I'll show a map. Actually, I don't know if I have that in here, but this goes to show from one location. The shipping zone is the color key, and so that's just really shows how important it is to start distributing your inventory, because often the cost, your costs to ship are based off of usually the dimensional weight and also the shipping zones. And so the lower, just for simplicity's sake, the lower the shipping zone, the better. And so as you can see here, if you're shipping, let's just say from Southern California, which is a very popular location, especially because of the ports in Long Beach and LA, from receiving your goods, you really only can ship to 4 states within zones 1 through 4. And once you start getting above that, it starts to get a little bit more expensive. And so it really shows the impact of, distributing your inventory. Another is the do-it-yourself treadmill, which, I've fallen prey to. Another I'd say is duct tape technology, top of funnel blindness, and then optimizing for the holidays. So let's jump in. So overcoming one location. So this is a customer of ours, Mike on Blanket. They ship weighted blankets. Those are not light. They often, including the packaging, weigh between about 17 and close to 30 pounds. And so they were shipping from the East Coast, and it would cost them more than $100 to provide that 2-day shipping to ship across the US. And when you're selling a product for $120 and you're spending $100 on fulfillment, that only leaves you $20 for the cost of your goods and for marketing and for everything else. And so that's just not a sustainable business. And so they actually distribute across 4 of our fulfillment centers. I want to say they spend now less than $25 per shipment. So that's a 75% cost savings to provide that 2-day shipping. It's actually also driven, providing that free 2-day shipping also improved their reduction in cart abandonment rate. Overcoming the DIY treadmill. So this is a brand down in Southern California, Rainbow Optics. They offer free standard shipping in 2 to 5 days. And a big thing that Noel spoke about is how, especially as the founder and him getting off the ground, a first-time founder, is he wanted to pick and pack and do everything himself. But he realized all he was doing was really eat, sleep, and pack orders, and it was his entire life. And he couldn't really focus on growing the business. And so he hired 2 other people, but then he realized not only him, but these other 2 were working 8 hours a day, pretty much every single day of the week, picking and packing. And instead, versus hiring people to help him with like growth and sales and product development. And so he decided to hand things off, and he actually 2x his business in his first year after handing it off, because then he could actually focus on the right things, which was growing his business. Another thing I'll say is like with the duct tape technology. And so a lot of people, I'm sure, are familiar and have experienced, what I'll call Excel hell. And that might even be if you just have, one shop and one location that you're shipping from, but you're sending Excel files or CSVs back and forth. And so this is another example of a customer called OneDrop. So they actually have multiple Shopify stores, and they do that because they have they're selling across different countries, and they actually have a subscription offering with their iOS app as well. So they actually do some pretty interesting things from a technology perspective. And so as they sell hundreds of orders a day, they can't be consolidating everything in Excel or CSVs. And so it's just making sure that everything syncs back and forth across multiple stores. And their fulfillment solution, of course, was important for them to have proper tracking of inventory, understanding what it costs to ship, what they were shipping every single day, the different shipping options that people were choosing from, the status of all of the orders. And so, just making sure that your technology is in place so it's not a burden, but it's allowing you to take actionable steps forward to continuing to improve your business. And another I'll say is overcoming what I'll call top of funnel blindness. And I've definitely made this mistake where you're trying to grow a business. It doesn't matter if it's e-commerce or a technology company or a services business, but you're always focusing on driving, more traffic or more leads versus thinking through what are some of the levers that you can pull that are like deeper in the funnel that actually might improve, your ROI and revenue even more impactfully. And so here it's really, and like what the Backblade team did was, providing that 2-day shipping experience. That was really important for them. They were just shipping out of Illinois, and now they ship across 3 or 4 fulfillment centers across the US. And so that's allowed them much more cost effectively to provide that 2-day shipping experience, and has greatly improved, their conversion rates. And really helped spread the word of mouth. And so they've been able to double growth every year. They started as like a Kickstarter Indiegogo project a few years ago, and they'll do close to $20 million this year. And also I think what the CEO states here is spot on. It's just what customers expect. I think that customers gave brands a lot of leeway earlier in the year, but it seems like, as COVID's been around for a while, customers are back to, really expecting that 2, 3, 4-day shipping experience. And then, why now? Why is it important? Hopefully what I've shared is just more general knowledge on just approaching fulfillment and shipping and logistics. I'm not trying to just say ShipBob, there's different ways you can approach it depending on your business. But why now in the holiday experience, people still expect this. And so I think it's finding also fulfillment providers, whether it be today in Q4, that are still open and willing to accept new customers, or maybe you're going to try to run through the holidays, or see how your current provider does, and then start trying to evaluate how you can scale this more next year. But some stats to call it here and on why this is so important is we actually saw last year over 40% of all store orders came in Q4. And what was interesting there as well is almost 45% of these brands' revenue came in Q4. And so not only is it almost half of people's revenues coming within a 3-month time frame, but as you can see, the average order value increases a lot as well. And it just really signifies the importance of nailing your Q4. And this actually I found rather fascinating is 47 of the top 50 revenue days for our merchants in aggregate came in November and December. I bet if I carve that up a little bit more, it'd be primarily just the last 6 weeks of the year. But 94% of the top 50 revenue days came in just a 2-month time frame, which is just pretty fascinating to see, where it's really make or break during the end of the year. And then just to close it out, you deserve to have it all. Your customers deserve to have it all, and you can provide that, and they can get that. And so it's really fun getting that 1, 2, 3 day shipping, controlling your data, getting data that you can actually take action off of, and just have a clear line of sight across your entire business, and also to the unboxing experience, and knowing who your customers are, where they're buying from, and why. Being able to scale up and down easily. That's a big thing as people hire in Q4, but then if sales start to slow down in January or February, it's tough to let those people go. And so, how are you going to manage that? Again, having the data work for you, and then also really trying to turn fulfillment and shipping speeds and shipping costs from a cost center into a revenue driver, because we definitely see that time and time again. And I'd say there's no better example than seeing what Amazon's done. So thank you very much. And I am happy to answer any questions. Or if there are none, we can hang out for a couple of minutes. Anybody have any cool examples of brands they see starting just e-commerce sales rather early? None? All right, let me try to think if I can think of any. Cool. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me. I'll throw it in the chat. And also here is our carriers page. If anybody wants to get a quick look at transit times, here's a question from Becca. Small business keep up with free shipping and still meet the bottom line. Great question, Becca. This, I think it starts with understanding, your business fundamentals, starting with like cost of goods sold, to understand like how much you have left in your margin to spend on shipping and fulfillment. Oftentimes, I think by distributing your goods, that's how you can greatly lower the costs. And also from a data perspective, it starts with understanding where a vast majority of your customers are located. That way that you're shipping closer to them. For example, we had a customer that was selling, ocean-based, kid plushies. And so, a vast majority, like 90% plus of their customers lived on both coasts. And so they just, split inventory on like the East Coast and the West Coast. And so that allowed their shipping costs to be reduced dramatically versus if they just wanted to have like one location in the middle of the US or shipping from one of the coasts. And so, I definitely would start with the data, again, understanding your business fundamentals and where your customers are located as well. And that's something that we can definitely help with as well. Cool. Well, it looks like we're at the top. I saw Derek, I think, sign in. So maybe he's next. I don't want to eat into his time. Thank you very much. Do we integrate with Magento? Yes, we do work with Magento as well. Derek says we raised 40 mil. Thanks for the props, Derek. It's actually 68. But anyways, thank you very much. And yes, enjoy. Derek will drop some knowledge. And thank you very much.